Hello and welcome to beautiful Custer, South Dakota, the site of the 2021 South Dakota State Disc Golf Championships. We are here at Pageant Hill Disc Golf Course, which has recently been expanded from its typical 18 holes to a championship layout of 27 holes. The course is situated on this large hill, which features many mature pine trees, tight gaps, rocky greens, and elevation changes, as well as a water tower. Today we'll be covering all 27 holes from start to finish. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this drone preview of Pageant Hill Disc Golf Course. This video presented by Panhandle Previews. Music by Davis Schaefer. Hole 1 is a par 3 starting on a wide tee box that's really a concrete outcropping from a picnic shelter. We will also use this for the tee of 18A. The hole wraps around from right to left for most players, where you're trying to throw a right-hand backhand hyzer onto this path. Once you get to the path, you'll be going uphill through the trees where you find the basket on some rocks. This is a pretty common theme for this course, as you'll see. Hole 2 plays much shorter than hole 1, as it's a 255-foot left to right shot downhill, where you're basically trying to crash into these aspen trees and get near the basket. You can tell they're aspen trees because of the way that they are. It is protected and you might have a tricky putt. Hole 3 is a 275-foot par 3 where you're looking to throw something pretty straight under these branches. It's a fairly simple shot. You don't want your disc to tail off to the right. Probably the better miss is if you can get through the gap to hyzer out to the left, because then at least you'll have a shot at a putt from this nice open field. We've come to our first new hole on the course. This is designated as hole 3A, and it's a relatively short 235-foot par 3, though it does play much longer than that due to the large amount of uphill and trees that you have to throw over. As you can see, it's a pretty tight gap through the fairway, and then there is another tight gap that you have to hit unless you're trying to throw a stall shot over these trees. OB is pretty close, right behind the basket, so don't go long. Hole 4 is a lengthened version of an original hole here at Pageant Hill. It's our first par 4 of the course, measuring at 404 feet. As you can see, the drone will fly right over the original basket location to the hole. The best play is probably a right-hand backhand, although a flippy forehand might be the only way to reach the basket in one shot. The hole finishes with a slightly elevated basket to add a little bit of pressure when putting, as you do not want to go down this hill again. Number 5. 248-foot par 3. Unfortunately, the day this footage was shot, the basket was in the short right location instead of in the championship location that is up here on this hill. The drone is going to fly right to the spot where there's a helpful muskrat or something on the hill pointing to where it should be. The basket will be behind this tree right in the middle. Hole 6 is a 297-foot par 3 that's straight up this hill. I believe that the basket location for this one as well will be about 50 feet further than this basket, which is shown right in the mouth of the gap. But either way, it's a great hole. Hole 7 is a 325-foot par 3 with a tight gap that's a little bit down the fairway. It is another hole with the basket today that was in the short location. However, the real location is about 75 feet further in a little clearing down the fairway. It's a nice hole because if you go off to the left, you're in trouble, and if you go off to the right, you're going to hit something and be well short of the basket. Moving on to number 8, we find ourselves at a 356-foot par 3, which starts off with a relatively straight shot over an open field before crossing this path and taking a sharp left up the hill. When making that turn, you'll want to avoid these little trees, and you're going to be putting at an uphill basket. Hole 9 is a short 153-foot par 3 that plays right behind this water tower. You can go around the top either way, or you can play this soft righty backhand around to the basket, which is on the edge of a slope here. Either way, make sure you don't hit the water tower. Hole 9A is a new addition to the course. That's a challenging 395-foot par 4 that goes straight up this hill. It's difficult to determine what the best way is to get to this basket. You can throw a left to right shot that ends right up here by this rock, and then you have another scramble type shot that has to go another 200 so feet before you get to these two trees that guard the basket. It is an interesting hole, and there are many ways to play it. Hole 9B is a 449-foot par 4 that goes down the hill that you just came up. It is a little bit easier to determine what the ideal drive off the tee is. You basically want to hit this gap with a right to left turning shot that ends up as far down the fairway as you can. Once you get there, you'll have kind of a scramble shot with the pick your gap and aiming for the basket, which is perched up on this hill right in front of the hole 10 tee pad. Watch out for pedestrians on this path. Once again, the green is full of rocks and rollaways are a problem. Hole 10 is a 366-foot par 3 that is also straight up the hill. There's a flex forehand play that you can use to get most of the way up there. There are some nice backhand, right-hand gaps as well. It's a pretty straightforward hole, and it should be an easy 3. Getting a 2 will be a challenge just due to the distance and amount of trees. Hole 11 is a 311-foot par 3 with a little bit of a tricky gap right off the tee. The disc will then have to move from the left to right to get through the gap and then fade back to the left, avoiding this clump of trees to get close to the basket. Once again, the basket is up on some rocks, kind of on the side of a hill. Hole 12 is a 254-foot par 3 that's relatively straightforward. You want to go straight across the hill with whatever shot that you are most comfortable with, and then either crash through these trees or slip underneath them and slide up to the basket. Hole 12A is a short 182-foot par 3. You want to throw something that goes left to right and hits this gap before gliding in so you can have a putt at this elevated basket. Hole 12B is a technical 213-foot par 3 where you're trying to throw something that goes from right to left and hits this gap. You want to sneak past the big rock on the left. Once you do that, you have an uphill putt at a slightly elevated basket as your reward. Hole 13 is another original hole on the course. This is a 177-foot par 3 where you want to throw a right to left moving shot that lands softly on these rocks and does not skip over the back. If you can do that, it's an easy 2. Hole 14 starts off the last 9 of the course. This is easily my favorite 9 to play, and starts off with a tunnel shot that is 318 feet. This hole does offer both forehand and backhand lines, and it's downhill all the way. If you can make it cleanly through the trees, you'll have a putt at this basket. Next up is hole 14A, a new addition to the course. This is a 501-foot par 4 that plays uphill pretty much the whole way. It does play as a nice 2-shot hole, as the first shot has to navigate through this row of trees and out into the meadow. Once you're in the meadow, it continues to play uphill, and the basket is tucked in this cluster of trees along the ridgeline. On your way to collecting your birdie, take a look at the observation deck on the left and enjoy the scenery where you can see Black Elk Peak on the way to making your putt. Hole 15 is maybe my favorite hole on the whole course. It's a 384-foot par 3 that features a small gap straight ahead or a forehand play off to the left. Either way, your second shot has to navigate through these trees up to this elevated rocky green where then you can make your putt. Go short and you risk rolling away. Go long and see you later. Hole 16 is another excellent hole. It's a 425-foot par 3 where you have to navigate through these trees, get across the road, navigate through these trees, and get rewarded by a little bit of a meadow. You want to choose a disc that has plenty of glide that can hang up and take advantage of the downhill shot. Unfortunately, the current basket location is over here on the left, where the actual basket location for the championships will be over here on the right. The basket location is tucked behind this tree that is immediately in the foreground in that little clearing. Hole 16A is a 244-foot par 3. It is downhill, slightly elevated basket with a steep slope. The main play is probably going to be a left to right turning shot through this small gap and hope that you land softly enough on the hillside that you don't roll all the way down. Birdie is going to be difficult. Par should be pretty easy to collect. Hole 17, although coming in at a short 196 feet, is a par 3 featuring probably the most elevation gain on the whole course. It's already a tough hole, but for the tournament, the basket is moving from where it is seen here to a hanging basket above the large rock. If you look closely, you can see the wires between the trees. At this point, hopefully you haven't used up all your distance because the last 3 holes are relatively lengthy. Hole 18 is a 466-foot par 3 where you want to take advantage of this empty airspace above the path and the downhill location of the basket. It's quite a ways down there, so if you can put something floaty that hits the gap, you'll get a long way. It is quite a fun shot to throw, but a difficult hole to get close enough to make a putt. Hole 18A is a 704-foot par 4 that uses the same tee pad as hole 1. You pretty much want to throw whatever your farthest shot is out into this open field and then take advantage of this hill to throw your second shot into. You don't want to fly the basket as there's an OB road relatively close behind it. Unfortunately, due to a recording snafu, we do not have drone footage of hole 18B. However, it is a straight shot downhill, as you can see, across the field to a basket right out in the open. Thanks for coming along to Pageant Hill Disc Golf Course on this drone preview. Special thanks to Mark Klewicki, the tournament director for the South Dakota State Championships, as well as all the people who put in work on making the course the championship level 27 holes that it is today. Special thanks to Davis Schaefer for creating the music for this video. This was presented by Panhandle Previews. Now get out there and throw some discs.